It's not every day that an Edina officer helps take down one of the largest identity theft rings in the nation. But that's precisely what Officer Dave Lindman and his team did. His role in the case has led him to be named Officer of the Year. Edina 16's Dietrich Nissen was at the City Council meeting when the award was presented and has more on the story behind the honor.
What would you do if you found out your banker was giving your account information to criminals?
When we were calling victims, their stories were horrific.
And way too common. Back in 2009, Edina Officer David Lindman and the Minnesota Financial Crimes Task Force began to see a number of cases like this one.
We get a case that comes in where a person's identity was stolen, a bank account is opened up in his name, he has a home equity line of credit which is drained into the new account that they open, and they steal $95,000 worth of his money.
The team discovered bankers were being paid off for account information, as well as for passing along fraudulent checks. The case quickly became known as Operation Starburst.
When we'd find one person to use an account, then all of a sudden we found 10 identities that were used, stolen identities that were used in an account.
Little did Lindman know these connections would lead his team to discovering an international network of identity thieves.
We sent Dave to New York to arrest one of our international fugitives who Dave had lured from Nigeria and convinced him to come back to the United States to face charges. That's just one small example of the work Dave did in this case.
However, the biggest break in this case came after a woman tipped Lindman off to the network's kingpin, Julian Okiyeyene. She happened to know about a storage locker he owned in California.
We immediately fly two people or investigators from the case down to the state of California to do a federal search warrant on the locker.
Inside the locker, federal agents found tens of thousands of fake IDs. But what happened next came straight out of a movie.
This goes into the you can't make this up. The guy shows up while we're serving the warrant. That's fantastic stuff.
We knew who this guy was. We had identified him, but identifying somebody and finding somebody in a different state is a whole different world. It's very difficult to do.
Okiyeyene was given 27 years in prison. It's the longest sentence for an identity theft case in Minnesota. The case garnered praise for Lindman from the highest levels of law enforcement.
Dave's an extremely aggressive investigator, extremely knowledgeable about financial and cyber crimes investigations.
He's an amazing guy, and he was a pleasure to work with. Edina is very fortunate to have him. So proud of you.
The investigation is ongoing, but so far Lindman's team has saved thousands of identities and helped convict more than 30 people connected to this fraud network.
I don't know that in the rest of my career I'm going to be working a case that has a $58 million exposure. That to me is generally going to be a once in a lifetime deal.
In Edina, Dietrich Nissen, Edina 16.
Lindman is just the second officer to receive the Mike Sitari Officer of the Year award. If you'd like to nominate an officer for next year's award, contact the Edina Police Department at 952-826-1610.